pump on top of it. And she said she's able to go to school now because of that well. And that sounds ridiculous. What does that mean? Well, when you explore a little bit further, what she said was every day morning she would spend about half hour going to fetch water from a surface source, which animals also shared, so that her family would have water to make sure that for their cattle and for cooking and whatnot. And so then she'd go to school late and get sent back home because she was late. And this cycle has been ongoing for several years. In the same village, we also spoke to a carpenter who said he hadn't been able to ply his trade and be a carpenter because he lacked sanitation facilities. And again, we asked him what happened. And he basically said, because they didn't have, and for them, sanitation facilities is a hole in the ground with a slab on top of it, so they can use that. And he said because they didn't have that, his kids were constantly sick. And he would spend what little money he had either buying medications for his children or taking them to the hospital, spending his time doing that. And he said just the simple act of putting a hole in the ground has now means his kids are going to school, and this guy is supplying his trade and selling the goods that he makes. I grew up in India, and I kind of intellectually knew these things, but to be able to see the impact of simple infrastructure improvements in the lives of real people really brought that home. And I just want to communicate that these numbers of 1 billion people, 2.6 billion people kind of get lost in the muddle a little bit, and it's easy to assume that people find themselves in these predicaments because there's scarcity of water resources. The Human Development Report, which some of you may have read or be familiar with, in 2006 they focused on the water crisis. And one of the things they found was that it wasn't scarcity of water that locked people out of development. It really was poverty and lack of power. That in social structures they lack the power or the resources to change any of the situations that they find themselves in. That's kind of where I think Water for People plays a unique role in a grassroots effort that focuses on sustainable local solutions to these issues of water and sanitation. The two things I want to communicate with regard to Water for People as an organization is what Water for People is not. It is not a charity. It is a development organization, and that's a huge difference. What we're focused on doing is empowering people to find solutions that are applicable for themselves. We're not gifting something to them. We're really serving as enablers in that process. And the second thing is, it's not limited to engineers. Water systems or wastewater systems are generally associated with engineers, and it really is not. The people that have made Water for People successful as an organization and are currently involved are people from all walks of life, teachers, educators of different kinds, industry professionals, lawyers, finance professionals, all different kinds. And there is a role for everybody there. And the third thing I want to communicate also is that it's a very high return on the investments. Last year, I think international program spending was about $3.3 million, which provided safe water to about 108,000 people. If you do the math, it works out to about $30 a person. So I want to communicate that your presence here is in itself a huge investment in making a measurable difference in the lives of people that you may never meet. But it is a measurable and an impact-driven change that we can enjoy. This is a great opportunity for us to say thank you for being here, but also recognize that the need is urgent and it is real. 1.8 million children, little children, die every single year from dysentery and diarrhea-related illnesses. That is every year. And the village that I visited during my trip to Malawi was in a district called the Chikwawa district. And I spoke to the health official there, and I asked her what the infant mortality rate was, infant and toddler mortality rate. She said, of every 1,000 children that are born, 205 die before they get to 5. And the reality of how that impacts, we can talk about development and all these high-level things, but these are real lives. No matter where you are, from a career standpoint, or what your financial availabilities are. Your involvement in this organization and in our work is something that yields measurable results. And I want to drive that home and invite you to participate more. You may or may not know much about Water for People. We'll be happy to chat more about it. I got lots of statistics I can share. But today we really just wanted to focus on that issue, but also let you know that today is really a celebration to a certain extent, because knowing what we know, the reality is that we are in a position to make change. We are in a position to engender the very kinds of socioeconomic development that you hear politicians talk about. But this is not a top-down effort. It really is a grassroots effort, and very measurable and very accountable process. So I want to thank you all for being here. Middle of the week, maybe you just felt like you needed a drink in the middle of the week. But regardless, your presence here is a huge encouragement to us, and certainly something that we can directly trace to the improvement of lives of people. So I want to invite you to participate. We've got some awesome gifts here, so I'll let Craig kind of walk us through what Chinese auction is. But
Rajah, is there a website they can go visit?
yes, it's Water for People, www.waterforpeople, all one word, .org. And they've got financial information, recent reports, pictures, all that good stuff. And they've recently also implemented a program called Water Core, where whatever your specific discipline is, you can come in and say, here's my skill set, what can I do? And we have opportunities for you to go on 2 weeks or 1 month trips to help out in whatever your specific area is. So there you go. So I'll let you do that, and then we'll have a last call for tickets. There's still some tickets left.